Hello everyone. My name is Peter. Welcome to the true stories being shared here. Please sit back and listen to today's story. WIBTA. If I asked someone I thought was my friend why only my boyfriend was invited to their wedding. For some context, I've known this guy, and let's call him Roger, for 6 years. He and I were placed in a band together during our freshman year of college, and we stayed in that band for 4 years. This band is also where I met my boyfriend, and where my boyfriend met Roger. There were a few other guys in the band, and we all became and have remained pretty good friends, especially since the other 4, including my boyfriend, continued to be in a band together after college. I wasn't excluded from this, I just wasn't interested in the time commitment, so I opted out when they started. They've become pretty well known locally, and they're a really talented group. Anyway, on to the current situation. Roger has been with his fiancée since before I met him, and when she transferred to our school, all of us in the band became quite friendly with her. I wouldn't really consider her a friend. As far as I know, we have no issues with each other. We're just not close, and we mostly only talked at shows. Still, I genuinely liked her, and we always greeted each other and had friendly conversations when we saw each other. So, Roger is getting married to his fiancée this summer. Of course, I congratulated them both when I heard they got engaged. A few months ago, we received a save the date in the mail. It was addressed only to my boyfriend. I thought it was a bit odd, but since it was just a save the date, I didn't think much of it. I just put it on the fridge. Well, last week, the wedding invitation arrived. Again, it was addressed only to my boyfriend. We opened it, and there was no indication of a +1 or anything. Which, honestly, I don't think I should be considered just a +1 to my boyfriend. I feel like I should have been invited on my own merit. My boyfriend said maybe they only addressed it to him because we live together, but that's exactly my point. We live together, so if it was meant for both of us, it should have been addressed to both of us. Otherwise, I take it that the invite was specifically for him. I'm really hurt by this. I guess it would be okay if they didn't really consider us friends, but I still feel that, given they know my boyfriend and I both live here and they know I was expecting to be invited since everyone else in this old group was, this feels like a real punch to the gut. So I guess my question is twofold. Am I the asshole for being offended by this in the first place? And WIBTA if I ask them why I wasn't invited? Should I attend this wedding or not? Update. Hi everyone. This is a throwaway account. I previously used it to ask about this situation on Am I the Asshole a few months ago, but as the event is approaching, my fiancé has started making me question whether I read the situation correctly, and I really wanted to get some fresh perspectives on it. To summarize my previous post, we have some friends or so I thought who are getting married this weekend. The question in my last post was about my name not being on the invitation that was sent to my fiancé and our apartment. My fiancé and I met at the same time as we met the groom, and we all got to know each other over the course of a year. Then, after some changes, we worked quite closely in a college band, after which my fiancé and the other members of that band decided to continue and form their own band. I wasn't excluded from this, I just wasn't particularly interested in the time commitment. And I don't regret that decision because they're busy bees. But since my fiancé and I stayed together, I still saw the groom and his bride fairly regularly. As far as I know, we've never had any beef, and we've always had friendly chats and greeted each other, liked each other's stuff on Instagram and so on. Based on our relationship history and the fact that my fiancé and I have lived together for 3 years, and they sent the invitation to the apartment we share, the fact that my name wasn't on the invite tells me that I wasn't actually invited. My fiancé kept trying to say things like, oh, maybe they didn't realize they needed to put your name on there, or emphasizing that it was a mistake because someone else might have written the invites, to which I pointed out that they would have written the invitations based on the names they were given. I asked if I would be the if I asked why I wasn't invited, and people said I would be. And maybe I wasn't meant to be invited. Though others agreed that their actions were extremely rude. I accepted that response, and although I still felt the whole thing was rude, I moved on and had no intention of bad-mouthing them or causing any drama, because who attends their wedding is their choice. They won't be at mine. My fiancé accepted that I was right about the situation after another person from this group recently sent out a save the date for his wedding, and both our names were on the invitation. I also pointed out to him a month ago when we received an invitation from one of his friends, whom I've only met a few times, and both our names were on it. But I digress. The point of today's post is that the wedding is this weekend. For some reason, my fiancé keeps asking me if I'm going. Apparently, he asked the groom, and he verbally said I was invited, but the fact that my name wasn't on the invitation, nor on the save the date we received before, really doesn't sit right with me as enough evidence that I'm welcome there. I truly believe that if I were actually invited, after my fiancé asked why my name wasn't on the invite, one of them should have reached out to me directly if they were truly expecting me to show up. But they haven't, and for some reason, my fiancé believes they expect me to be there. He keeps saying he doesn't want to have to explain to everyone why I'm not there. And I keep telling him there's nothing to explain. I wasn't invited. But here's where I'm conflicted. I really don't want to cause drama around their wedding. I respect their decision not to invite me if that's how they want their day to go, and I don't think anyone should be forced to invite someone to their wedding that they don't want there. But I also fully know that there will be some people there who are close to both my fiancé and me as a couple who will wonder why I'm not there and might make a fuss if they ask the bride and groom directly. Which I realize might seem like main character syndrome. I really don't think people will care where I am except for my fiancé, and since we're always together, my absence will definitely be noticed by our friends, and some of them aren't great at knowing when to leave things alone. So I really don't know what to do here. Here are the options I see right now. Trust my fiancé that they actually want me there despite everything saying otherwise and show up, risking being unwelcome and potentially upsetting them on their wedding day. Don't go. Make up a story for my fiancé to tell everyone so no one tries to dig for gossip. Don't go. Have my fiancé tell the truth that I wasn't invited, or let him come up with a story if he's not comfortable with that. I'm leaning towards option 3, as petty as that sounds, and my reasoning is if they didn't want people asking why I'm not there, then they should have invited me to be there. That's definitely a bit petty. But I don't see why I should lie for them, when they didn't even respect me as a long-term partner of my fiancé, whom they've known for years, let alone as a friend of theirs. What do you think? Is there another option here where I don't feel like a doormat while also avoiding being seen as an odd? Or is this one of those situations where I really can only take the high ground by covering for them since it's their wedding day? Any thoughts and advice are welcome, please, and thank you. And please ask any clarifying questions if something doesn't make sense or if something seems to be missing. Also, there's a detail I couldn't figure out where to fit in here, but when we first got the invite, the second envelope for their wedding was also sent only to my fiancé. I talked to a friend of mine about it who vaguely knows who this couple is, because I wanted to ask someone who wouldn't blab about it in case I was overreacting, and she ended up telling me last month that she figured out that another friend of hers who is actually close friends with the bride through school and thought they were still friends, also wasn't invited. I don't know if that makes a huge difference in the overall perspective of the situation, but it seemed relevant. TLDR, I wasn't invited to a friend's wedding, my fiancé was. The wedding is this weekend, and my fiancé keeps trying to convince me to go, saying he doesn't want to explain to everyone why I'm not there. What's the best way to navigate this? Edit. If you didn't read the post, don't comment. I wanted to ask them for clarification, but since I've never been in this position before, I wanted to ask others who might have more experience with weddings how I should ask. Everyone said I'd be the off for even considering asking because it's their wedding, and clearly I wasn't invited, and putting them in that position to have to tell me that would be wrong. Instead of getting mad at me for seeking advice on how to handle this, maybe you should have chimed in the first time I asked, and then maybe you'd see the reaction I got that proves why I thought asking was inappropriate. Edit 2. I'm also sorry the previous post I mentioned can't be found anywhere. I really didn't intend to reuse this throwaway, and since I got the answers I needed, I deleted it a few weeks after I posted it. I don't know how to see deleted posts, but if someone can find it, you'll see this one matches it. And the general consensus was I absolutely should not ask the couple for clarification. Thanks to all who gave practical advice and helped me find the right decision for me, and to those who were extremely condescending about me not asking them. How would you feel if someone wasn't invited to your wedding and then confronted you about it? I get that you think being upfront is best, but some people don't want to risk drama, and I guess that's okay too. It's their day. I really don't have the right to make a fuss about it, and if it turns out it was a mistake, they can explain that to me, and we can laugh about it and move on. But if I'm actually right, they'd be really awful to make a fuss about it when the day isn't about me. This isn't about this generation being too scared to talk to people. It's really about basic politeness to recognize when it's appropriate to bring a situation back to being about me and when it's not. This is one of those times it's not, so I wanted to know the best way to ensure I support the fact that I don't want to be a source of drama for them around their wedding. I've had plenty of positive perspectives on how mistakes can happen here, and I'm happy to accept that as the truth if they explain it to me, but right now I'll just quietly accept it and find something fun to do this weekend instead. New update. For some reason, it's not letting me link the original post, but it's on my profile. Hi everyone. This isn't a very exciting update, but some people have asked for one, so I thought I'd just explain how everything went yesterday. So first off, I'm really glad I didn't go. My fiancé was pretty unhappy when he got home from the wedding and told me what happened. It turns out I wasn't the only missing partner, but my fiancé was still pretty puzzled by the whole thing, because it felt really weird not to have their partners there. A lot of people asked about me and where I was, but my fiancé just vaguely said I couldn't make it. But neither the bride nor the groom asked about me, even though the groom came up to my fiancé and said something like, "Can't wait for your wedding," which made him realize I was right about the whole thing. None of the wedding party, many of whom we know well, asked about me either, which also stood out to him, given how many guests did ask. One thing I found strange was that my fiancé confirmed there was no seat assigned to me, but there were a lot of empty chairs. This makes me wonder if they knew this was entirely confusing and weird, and they were preparing for the possibility that spouses of those not invited might come anyway and dealt with it by having extra seating. I don't know. That's pretty much it. Honestly, the whole thing is even more confusing after the wedding, but at least I think it's pretty clear I was right and made the right call not to go. No real drama happened, and I'm not really going to bother trying to get more answers from them or anyone else, but it's at least disappointing, to say the least. My fiancé is also pretty bummed to realize how little these friends respect me as a person, and also as his partner. But sometimes, I guess that's just the way it goes. I really just wish they'd been straightforward, even if the reason was a lie, that I wasn't invited. I would have understood if they said it was a numbers thing, but the way they handled it just seems pathetic and cowardly to me. But it seems we weren't the only long-term couple they did this to, so I guess it says more about them than it does about me. Thank you to everyone who offered advice and gave me different perspectives. I'm so grateful I posted here, because you really helped me feel confident in reading this situation. And you all helped me make the right decision to avoid drama or awkwardness.